Game 1 of Week 2 in the books, 31-10. It is a no contest with the Buffalo Bills taking care of the Miami Dolphins. But this overshadows it all. Tua Tagovailoa making contact there with Damar Hamlin, and then a secondary contact with the ground, was soon thereafter ruled out of this game with a concussion. It's also seen in the fencing position after that contact. It's the latest in a history of concussions for the Miami quarterback, whose future now comes into question. Postgame is presented by GMC. We are professional grade. Joe Musso alongside Emory, Hunt, and Bryant McFadden. Fellas, we're going to peel back the layers to this game, but there's only one place to start, and that is with the health of Tua Tagovailoa. We'll bring you all the latest as we have it here, but again, a stark reminder, B-Mac, of the violence of this game. When you saw that, what were the feelings that came over you?
I was nervous, disturbed, because of the actual play, but then the history of the player that was involved in Tua Tagovailoa. It's been well documented. If you've been following the NFL, if you've been following the Miami Dolphins, you know about his concussion history and how devastating those injuries they've been to him in his career. A year ago, played clean football, wasn't injured, but in 2022, devastating concussions that lingered with him and happened multiple times throughout that season. And this season, when you look at what he was expecting to do, getting a nice contract, deserving so, talented team returning from what was successful a year ago, and he was the catalyst of their success. And in this ball game, wasn't a very, very clean ball game by Tua Tagovailoa. The same can be said for the entire team. And he was pressing, trying to make a play. And in that moment, you're not concerned about anything else outside of being productive and getting positive yards. Me personally, I want to see Tua slide. Anytime he's running the football, you should never try to initiate contact, and that's what he tried to do. He tried to brace himself to initiate the contact and lower his shoulder, and unfortunately, he received the bad end of the stick when they came to that tackle. And it wasn't a violent tackle. We've seen worse, right? It wasn't violent, but when you talk about his history and how many times he's sustained concussions, a simple tackle can be a devastating tackle for Tua, and that was the case in the actual play.
Life's so weird, man, because it's not lost on me that the guy that made that tackle is Damar Hamlin, who came back from such a serious injury himself, and now he's earned the starting job and things are looking up. I wonder how he feels in this situation, considering Tua's history, with, like B-Mac talked about, and also his history in terms of getting back into playing professional football. And once it happened, you just shake your head, because this is what you didn't want to see from Tua. Especially what we were expecting from them on the football side coming into the season with all the weapons that they have, and the season that could have been this year. It still could be, but it's week 2. But you got to look long term and think Tua's health and how they're going to respond. And now your brain as a coach goes into how can we get better? How can we steady the ship? Because you just saw your leader go down in the most worst way possible, and that's going to linger in with the team moving forward.
Not just the loss of a starting quarterback for we don't know how long, but also the loss of what has become the vocal leader in that locker room, as you said, for a Miami team with great hopes this season. So let's look at what this team looks like beyond Tua, if it is going to be an extended amount of time. We saw Skylar Thompson come into this game. Mike White was cut after camp here by the Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill is sitting at home, a former Dolphins quarterback. What do you see when you look at this schedule without Tua Tagovailoa, as we assume for an extended amount of time, especially after the handling of those 2 concussions in 2022 in a short amount of time, and really the fire that Miami came under due to that treatment?
Well, the left side of the screen is very tough compared to the right side of the screen. Now, the left side of the screen, you see a lot of physical, tough defensive football teams. And so you talked about Mike White was cut in the offseason. Tannehill is still out there. Bridgewater is still in Miami. He's coaching high school football down there. And you just hope that Skylar Thompson, who has started some games, started a playoff game against these very Buffalo Bills, has been there in their system for 2 years. You hope that he can step up and bring that confidence to the team that, hey, guys, I can carry this ship. I can lead you guys where we want to go. Trust in me, believe in me, and we can get this thing done. So we may see this team galvanize itself around Skylar Thompson, because looking at their schedule, they're going to need some sense of confidence going into the rest of that slate.
And speaking of Skylar, I don't put a lot into what I saw when he entered the ball game because clearly he didn't get any reps with the ones. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't a vocal point within the game plan, so he kind of got thrown into the fire unexpectedly. And it's your job as a professional to be ready anytime your number is called. But in that situation, with everything that was going on and the game was already out of hand, I don't put a lot into what I watch from him. But I'll say this much. When it comes to being creative as an offensive play caller, Mike McDaniel is one of the best in the National Football League, right? And knowing that Tua Tagovailoa might not be with you for a few weeks, it's his job to get Skylar prepared as best as possible. Going back to that playoff game, we saw Skylar inserted in that ball game. Didn't play bad, but you would like to get more from him. And that's what the other guys have to step up. Yeah. The running game, right? The wide receivers, the defense. Unfortunately for the Miami Dolphins, they lost Tua, but they also lost Teron Armstead, the left tackle and the left guard. So we don't know their status as well. So everything just kind of, it was a ripple effect. But one luxury they have at their disposal, if we can put their schedule up moving forward real quick. I know you talked about the left side, and there's some intriguing matchups. But if we're going back to what happened a year ago, every team on this left side outside of the Bills at Week 9 did not make the playoffs last year. That's one thing they have at their disposal when it comes to Seattle still trying to figure things out. Even though you go to Seattle, the Titans, by then we don't know what they have in store. Will Levis is not really, banging on the table as a outstanding quarterback at this point. The Patriots still trying to figure things out. And then you have your bye week. I think that is the ideal week right there. Week 6, I know we had the doc on talking about potential timeline. We don't know. We're just estimating and having a conversation. But week 6 is a very, very pivotal point for them because the next 3 ball games, even without Tua Tagovailoa, they could be wins. Yeah. They could be wins. You know what I mean? It just, everyone else, they have to up their ante, knowing that you potentially might not have your starting quarterback in the lineup.
Well, and that's just the problem, Mac. We would have hoped that Tua Tagovailoa didn't incur this injury, obviously walked off the field with zeros on the clock. It still was one team far more physical than the other. One team imposing its will from the jump. The Bills remain that sort of boogeyman that just can't get out from under the bed for this Miami team, Emory. At what point does that start playing against the team, getting in their head, almost a fait accompli that this is the team that has my number, and I just don't know what to do when we get on a field together?
It's funny because we see this with Baltimore and Kansas City, and this is their kryptonite in terms of the team they got to get past or whatnot. You see it with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. That's another team that always seems to have Baltimore's number. So for Miami, this is what I'm going to just cut to the chase. It is about we are tougher than you. Buffalo feels like we're tougher than you. Yeah. I don't care what kind of fancy car you got, all the speed on the outside. We play in Buffalo. It's cold up there. We're the Bills. We're physical. We're brash. We're big. We're bullies. We got a big quarterback. We're going to run downhill, and they did that all throughout this ball game. And we joked about it and kept bringing it up during when we were watching this game together. Like, man, if you're starting to blitz down the A-gap on first down, that's telling the other team, like, hey, man, we can't stop y'all up front. We got to do something. And they continue to run it successfully. So it shows you, Buffalo leaned into who they are personality-wise. And Miami has to, right now, other teams are viewing Miami as a finesse team and not a physical team. And that's not the tag that you want if you're a team out there in the NFL.
I mean, when you run so much misdirection, you almost have no other choice but to be physical because you're kind of tricking people. You know what I mean? It's entertaining to watch from our viewpoint. But in the fourth quarter, it kind of fizzles out because the other opposing team has kind of picked up on what you're doing. So what happens when that adjustment is made from the defense, and you just got to play my man is better than your man football, or my man is tougher than your man football? They're not prepared to do that. They're not equipped to do that because that's not their style. When it's working, it's hard to slow down. But anytime there's some issues with their style, can they just adjust and say, you know what, forget trick-or-treating and trying to fool you. We're going to come right down the teeth of your defense. And that's what we saw from Buffalo. Remember at halftime I said this might be the best rushing performance I've seen from Buffalo in quite some time. They were coming straight down the teeth of the Dolphins defense, and they were doing so without Josh Allen. Usually when we see Buffalo be successful running the football, who is involved? Josh Allen. Yeah. Tonight, it wasn't Josh Allen. It was Cook and Davis. and they were doing so consistently. And there lies the issue for other teams in the AFC East. Because if Buffalo can implement this into their game plan week in and week out, good luck in trying to slow them down, because you know what 17 can do whenever he wants to get involved. But when they can get that running game involved the way they did so tonight, I mean, this can be a very, very successful year offensively for Buffalo.
Here, peep this out. He was talking about the Kyle Shanahan tree, right? So you have Mike McDaniel, you have Sean McVay. Neither of their run games can do what Kyle Shanahan's run game can do, which is run downhill physically when they want to. Detroit can run downhill. So Buffalo is doing the same thing, like, hey, yeah, y'all can go east and west, but at some point you got to go forward. And they go forward, and they start to move guys off the ball. And it shows you the investment they've made in their offensive line with their run game. And it's not like they have Derrick Henry back there. James Cook is probably 205 max, and he's running tough inside. And then you have Ray Davis, who also runs tough inside. So it's a mindset, it's a mentality, and Buffalo has owned it. And it when you're running physical like that, by proxy, your defense will be physical as well.
Well, that's just it, the physicality of that defense. And
shout out to Ed Oliver.
The game plan that, again, as you pointed out astutely in pregame, that Sean McDermott continues to roll out in front of Tyreek Hill, 3 for 24 by a yard, the second fewest yards Tyreek Hill has put up in a game as a Miami Dolphin. We can wax poetic about what this Buffalo team has done through 2 weeks, but I want to look at it relative to the conversations we were having all offseason. Josh Allen, where's he going to go with the ball? What's the run game going to look like? Is Joe Brady going to go too run game heavy? How has your opinion, Mac, of this Buffalo team changed over these last 2 weeks? This looks like same old Buffalo, come get us at the top of the division because it's ours to lose.
I mean, when it comes to Buffalo, the way they're distributing the football, the way he's distributing football right now, you don't know who's going to be the guy. And we still don't know. But it's working for them. Today, Khalil Shakir was the leading receiver with 5 receptions, followed by Dalton Kincaid. Remember, he only had 2 in week 1. Everyone else had 1. So you had Khalil with 5, Dalton with 4, Ty Johnson 1, James Cook 1, Curtis Samuel 1, Mac Hollins none.
He threw it 19 times to 9 different targets.
Yes. So right now it's almost like just pitch and play. And it's working for them because they're undefeated. But at some point in time, you need to figure out who that guy is you can rely on when the kitchen gets a little hot.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough for them in the second half, they haven't really been in that situation. Well, a little bit against Arizona, but, you know, Arizona, they don't have the dudes that Buffalo has, and they were on the road. But right now, I'm liking what I'm seeing because you don't see Josh Allen pressing. Oftentimes, we've seen him press in years past, and that creates turnovers. That has always been the Achilles heel for Josh Allen. We talk about Josh Allen, he's this, he's that, but the unforced turnovers have always followed him. Right now, he's not pressing because they can run the football. They've shown the ability to run the football. He's not pressing because he believes they can run the football without Josh being involved. So it takes some pressure off his plate. So I'm liking what I'm seeing in 2 weeks of play, even though, guys, let's keep it real. We don't know who has exactly replaced Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, but to their credit, it's been working. It's been working. Keon Coleman didn't catch a pass today. Yeah. Remember, he led them in receptions in week 1. So I think this is going to be the identity receiving-wise for them. It might be Coleman 1 week. It might be Curtis Samuel in 1 week. It might be Dalton Kincaid. You don't know. But for them, if it's working, if it's keeping everybody happy, so be it.
The TD-INT ratio always comes into question for Josh Allen. 5 total touchdowns this year, just a lone fumble. We'll see what these Bills look like moving forward. But again, a final thought here as we hope for all the best for Tua Tagovailoa and his health moving forward. Gentlemen, we appreciate you as always. That'll wrap postgame here on CBS Sports HQ. We got full highlights coming up next on HQ and all the latest on the Tua front as well.